That's still happening and ongoing. And I expect to be doing more speaking certainly later in the year. And with any luck, we'll get a major funder and really take this into high gear.
Well, I think it's the hottest issue in the public domain right now, I think. I mean, we're not going to Mars. We're not going to the moon. The president's effectively ended manned space travel in our lifetimes, at least from the United States, unless we want to hitch a ride with another country. But we've lost our national pride.
And that's all propaganda. I mean, nothing is what it seems. Everything they say about the space program is meaningless, in a sense. In other words, if they're cutting back on the space program, to me, that's a disclosure matter. In other words, if you know disclosure is close, then you do not want to have. You want as few white elephant space programs that are completely anachronistic and totally bogus underway as possible. Because if you do, everybody's going to say, "What in the hell are you doing, spending money on that? Why did you do that? All that money could have been spent elsewhere. Oh, well, we had to maintain the truth embargo." So think of the best way to think about the actions regarding NASA and a lot of other stuff is that they know disclosure is coming. They need to batten down the hatches. They need to paint the poop deck. They need to get their story straight. They need to position themselves. Stephen Hawking is doing that. You probably noticed that. The Vatican Church is doing that. You can't stumble into a hotel without running into an exobiology or astrobiology conference. So, again, Brooks, we should be optimistic that we're about to end this embargo, but we should never underestimate the need to continue to engage the government on this and not let the government dictate how this is all going to turn out. So I'm hoping that people will shake off the economic fears they have, and I know they're very worried, and try to find the funding to allow this advocacy to go forward and not leave it to the government to decide the post-disclosure world.
Yeah, exactly right. That's one of the pleas that we make on a regular basis here, that, this isn't going to happen with a government grant. It's not going to happen with a new tax. This is only going to happen if you, the listener...
They're not going to fund us to end their truth embargo, I can assure you.
That's right. It has to come from our pocketbook. Hey, we've got a caller on the line. Mark, welcome to the program.
Hi, Dr. Agnew. How are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I left a message for James. I think I'm going to try to make the conference.
Well, that'll be awesome. Have you been listening to the program tonight? We have Stephen Bassett on. We're talking about the disclosure of ET and UFO technology that our government's been holding on to probably for 60 years or more.
Yes, I certainly have, and I have a couple of questions and comments for Steve. First of all, Steve, I am the webmaster for Exopolitics Ohio, and I think we chatted briefly a few times on some other radio shows.
Oh, what's your name?
Mark Snyder.
Oh, hi, Mark. Okay, well, great. One of my guys, Exopolitics Ohio. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate what you're doing, and we need to get about another 25 states going here. But we've got about 8 or 9 in play, and I really appreciate you're doing Ohio for us. Thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. The approach that I'm taking with the website now is education. I have now 100 embedded videos on the website, and I cover contactees, researchers, history, and science as it relates to the UFO issue. Currently, I have hits from 15 different countries, so it's starting to come together pretty good. The one thing I'd like to bring up is a controversial case that I have a special interest in, and that's the Billy Meyer case. And I think that the evidence for that case is pretty overwhelming. There are 1,200 crystal clear daylight photos of the ships, 8-millimeter films, sound recordings. We've got 100 eyewitnesses in Switzerland, and thousands of pages of contact notes written by Billy. But I wonder sometimes if the people that are in the UFO movement themselves are really ready to deal with some of the mind-bending realities associated with the phenomena. Can you comment on that?
The fact is, were we ready to deal with the mind-bending reality of of relativistic physics? Were we were we ready to deal with the invention of the hydrogen and atomic bomb?
Or heavier than air flight?
World War II, the banking collapse, the bust of 1929, the Iraq War, genetic experimentation. You know, the fact is that some of us are ready, some of us are not, but we're going in one direction here, right? It's not about what we're ready for. It's about what is. The human race has shown that it is incredibly adaptive, and I can assure you that 4 or 5 years after disclosure, for most people, will be a so what. And even if we have contact with ETs, within 3 or 4 years after that, hell, most kids will think nothing of it. Again, all of this business about what we can handle and not handle, I'm afraid, is far more about government propaganda and the effort to contain this issue until they're ready to deal with it or open up, and not really about what we're ready for or not ready for. I can assure you, let me say this, that I'm not uncomfortable at all with disclosure and the post-disclosure world. And I've talked with a lot of people. So as far as I'm concerned, ready or not, here it comes.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much a treatment issue where people are socially or even emotionally or psychologically incapable of accepting that we're the only sentient beings in the neighborhood. I think it's more a question of how we're going to economically and socially adapt to that. Are we going to be sharing our planet? Are we going to be venturing to other planets? Are we going to be incorporating new equations of space folding, star travel techniques into our schools? You know, this is the level of amazement and even curiosity that really makes the human race shine. We're at our best when we're like that, I think.
Yeah, but let's turn it around. I mean, I could ask another question. Are we ready for cheap energy? Are we ready for maybe being able to heat our houses for $4 or $5 a month? Are we ready to be able to run our cars on electricity that costs a couple of pennies a mile? Are we ready for unlimited fresh water from desalinization plants? Are we ready for the end of oil and its pollution and toxic waste? Are we ready for the end of the garbage pass in the middle of the Pacific? The space junk that's now a millionfold polluting our own space around us. Are we ready for all of those things? Well, obviously we are. And so again, let's stick with it. It's basically to keep it simple. Should a sentient species know the truth about the world that it lives in? I think absolutely. I believe that's natural law, fundamental law. That knowing the truth about the world you're in is a fundamental higher law that no country can legislate away.
I couldn't agree more.
And any attempt to do that is fundamentally illegal and cannot be justified. And so we need to enter a period where never again, ever again, will any nation, any state, any government ever attempt to misrepresent fundamental reality to people. The governments are made up of other people. They are not supreme beings. They are not geniuses. They are not superior to us. And in many cases, they are profoundly inferior.
Well said.
In no way have the basis, the justification, the credibility of the informator to define reality other than what it is. And to do so violates fundamental law. Now, I understand national security, and we went through World War II and the nuclear threat of the Soviet. I understand all that. We have to get beyond those things as well. But in a simpler, broader sense, we need to commit ourselves to the fact that never again will we allow reality to be misrepresented to us by any institution. We can lie to ourselves and each other about the way things are all we want. But institutional lying about the nature of reality by the church, by the state, by the PTA, by anybody in government must never, and authority must never be allowed to happen again. And I don't think it will. I think that we will have learned that lesson profoundly the day after disclosure.
Very good. We the people, fill in the blank. Mark, any other thoughts for this hour?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'd like to bring up one other issue, and then I'll hang up and let you guys discuss this. I'd like to hear you both discuss ancient artificial structures that may be on the moon, Mars, and our own solar system, and the fact that human history may go back millions of years, and some of the evidence for that is the monolithic structures that are on the earth still, like at Pumapunku and even the Great Pyramid. And I think that learning the truth of our own history will come out with the disclosure of the UFO phenomena. And,
it very well could be a major driver to that.
That's a nice question to end with. It has about a 45-hour answer.
Yeah. Hey, can we take a quick 4-minute break? A quick. Hey, Steve, let's go ahead and take a quick 4-minute break so I can make sure people can get this on their iPod, and we'll be back right after this. All right, hold on. We'll be back in about 4 minutes. Don't go away, people. More Stephen Bassett and Disclosure. We'll be back right after this with more X Squared Radio.